In this video series, what I want to do is introduce you to some of the features of ScrapPage and show how a beautiful layout can be made in just a few minutes. When you're opening a project or starting a project in ScrapPage, you always begin with either a color background, a picture project, or a quick page if you already happen to have a quick page on the web that you want to download. Now, one of the things that I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with a color background, and we'll go with the square. And what I would like to do is I'm going to do some selection of colors here, and I think what I'll do is select something in sort of the tan range. And in order that I keep that around, I'm just going to right click over here on one of these empty squares. Now if I right click, that will now save that color for one that I can recall again in the future. Okay, now rather than just a plain background, I'm also going to texturize it. So what I can do is go into some of the standard textures that come with ScrapPage, and one of the nice ones I think is this one here. It's a patch type of a texture, and we'll put that on there. Okay, so now you can see we've got a nice kind of a light text or patch background colored tan. Now I could, if I wanted to, make that more bold, for instance. Let's even try that. I'll go in here and get one of the next level up in terms of the boldness of the pattern, and we'll apply that. Okay, so you can see it's getting a little more bold, and if we changed it again, we could go into it further and go all the way up to, say, this level, patches 2, which is going to be bolder yet. Okay, and there. Okay, so you can see how you can change your backgrounds without too much trouble. I could have been changing the color as well as if I wanted to, but let's just say we'll leave it at here now. Now that's one way you can add can start a project by creating a background. The other would be with a picture, but you can also add the same background picture that you might have used for a background. And I'll give you an example here. Karen is nice enough to let me use her My Little Chickadee kit for this demonstration. So you can see I picked out two of the papers from My Little Chickadee, and what I'll do is I'm going to select them both. Now you do that just like you do in any other Windows or Mac application. You hold down the Control in the case of the Macintosh, or in case of the PC, and the Command key in case of the Mac, and you select multiple items. Now what ScrapPage will do when you click open is it will import them, and it just scales them down to fit up in the upper left corner of the screen. Now the resolution wasn't compromised. These on-screen elements that you see are just scaled down resolutions, but when you finally build your full page, ScrapPage goes and grabs the actual files so that everything is done at full resolution. Okay, and by full resolution I mean when this thing opened in Square, it opened to 300 DPI 12 by 12 or 3600 by 3600. Okay, so now we have these two additional papers that we brought in here. What I might do is just rotate one of them here, and we'll just build sort of up a little bit of a paper stack and make that one something like that. And the way things work in ScrapPage, as you can see, I just grab these grow handles and move things around, and I grab this rotation handle to rotate things. Okay, so that's the way all objects are moved and rotated and resized in ScrapPage. So, and when you don't want that object anymore, you click somewhere else, any place, and it'll click off. Okay, now let's take this one and do sort of the same thing. We'll set it up here in this corner and grow it down to here a bit and rotate it some so that it sits maybe something like that. Now they look very flat, and they are because we haven't shadowed anything yet here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the one that's in the back, and I'm going to apply a shadow to it, and we'll give it a shadow of about 3 and some decent density just so it pops off the page pretty well. All right, maybe even a little stronger than that. Let me reselect that. We'll go in here and take this up to in the mid 50s, 60s, something like that. There, now it looks like it's really strongly standing off the page. Now I might want to apply that same shadow to this particular paper as well. Now I'll go and tell it that I want to match the style of the previous. There. Now you can see that the two papers now both have a shadow and the shadow is the same density and width. All right, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a few additional elements. Now, one of the things that I find to be nice, and I'll do this for expediency here as well, is Karen supplies a lot of clusters. And I know she has a challenge going on to try to build papers, with a mixture of elements and clusters. So that's what I'm going to do here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up in that particular folder where I have some of her design elements, and I'm going to pick some clusters. And I think I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one, and this one. All right, so I'll have those 3 clusters that I'm going to import. Now, once again, ScrapPage will import the 3 clusters up here in the upper corner and overlay them on top of each other. Now, we'll move these down here, and I think I'm going to move this one into this corner here, maybe size it up a little bit, something like that. And I'll move this one down here into this corner. Now, we can have these things just reside where they are. As I said before, you can rotate them, you can resize them, you can do whatever you want, and you're not compromising the resolution of your basic element that you brought in. All right. Now, I think on this particular one, I might actually even want a little more grass in the front. Let's blow this this particular grass up here a little bit. Maybe we'll take it up in size, something like this. Bring it all the way over. Something in that order. That'll look pretty nice. But I'm going to add that same thing again. I'll bring another one in. And now when I have it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down here into this corner. All right. So let's say that we're going to have some arrangements, something like that. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing you want to note is, notice how if I keep clicking off on this paper, I keep reselecting it. That can be quite cumbersome sometimes to constantly be unselecting that. So one of the things you can do is notice these 2 little lock and unlock icons up here on the top of the page. All I have to do when it's selected is I'm going to lock it. Now, I can no longer select that one, but it's selecting what's below it, which is the other piece of paper. So I'm going to lock it as well. All right, so now they're both locked and I can't select either one of them. Now, if for whatever reason I wanted to be able to move one of these pieces of paper later, all I'd have to do is click on the unlock and then select the paper that I want, and it's now unlocked. Okay, and I can select it, as you can see, and I can move it around and I can do whatever I want. But I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and relock it. So I'll lock it again, and now I can no longer select it. Now I'll leave these unlocked for the time being down here. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and import some other things here. I'd like to fill out this left side over here a little bit. So I'm going to bring in some more pictures, and I'll bring in these remaining pictures here, these remaining design elements. And again, they all come in up in that upper left-hand corner, scaled to actually 1/4 size of the picture, of the layout rather. And again, though, that does not impact their resolution that you will see in your final output. So let's start rescaling these and moving them around down in here. How's that? We'll bring this one down here, and we'll bring this one and down in size and stick it over here. I think I'd like this one to be a little bit smaller there, something like that. And I'll bring this one down so that it sits in here someplace like this. And maybe what I'll do now that I've got him, I think I'll select this one again and blow it up. Now, I might like this green one to be out on top because it's really hidden back there. And the way you do that in ScrapPage is you can rearrange things by just going to reorder the layer. All right, now what I can do here is I can bring it all the way to the front. I can send it to the back. I could bring it forward one layer in the layer stack. I could move it back one layer in the layer stack. I could move it behind whatever happened to have been the previous object I selected, or I could move it in front of whatever was the previous object I selected. I think in this case I'm going to bring it all the way to the front. All right, so now you can see that it popped to the front. Now none of these are shadowed. It might be a good idea if I give this one a shadow, and I'll tell it to give it a shadow of about 3 and a density somewhere up here in the 90s. And I'll just apply that same shadow to all of them just by selecting them and telling them, hey, match to the style of the previous, Oop, I didn't select that one. Let's select this one over here. And not reorder, I want to match. I'll match that to the style of the previous, and we'll select this one and we'll match it to the style of the previous. Okay, so now they all have that same shadow cast on them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to continue with this in the next video. You'll see how we'll finalize this layout out in the second video in this series. So until then, this is Dave from Media Digitronics.